Welcome back to Beyond GDP, where we challenge everything you thought you knew about economic progress and what it means to live a good life. I'm your host, and if you're questioning whether endless growth is really the answer, you're exactly where you need to be. Today's topic isn't clickbait. It's not hype. It's a question that economists, technologists, and policymakers are wrestling with right now. Is AI about to fundamentally reshape our economy in ways we're not prepared for? Let's dive in. Here's what we know for certain. AI is no longer science fiction. It's in our phones, our workplaces, and increasingly, it's doing work that humans used to do. But let's separate fact from fear. According to recent data, about 30% of U.S. workers are concerned their jobs could be affected by AI by 2025, and we're already there. Entry-level positions are particularly vulnerable, with research suggesting nearly 50 million U.S. jobs could be at risk in the coming years. Now, before you panic, here's the crucial context. We're not talking about robots suddenly replacing everyone overnight. What we're seeing is something more nuanced and, frankly, more interesting. AI is becoming increasingly capable in cognitive tasks. We're seeing it draft legal documents, analyze medical scans, write code, and yes, even create content. In some industries with rich data, think finance and tech, AI adoption could reach 60 to 70%. In others, it's slower. But here's what makes this different from previous technological revolutions: the speed and scope. This isn't just about automating physical labor or routine tasks. We're talking about tools that can learn, adapt, and in some cases outperform humans in complex analytical work. A recent Bloomberg analysis found that AI could potentially automate over 50% of tasks performed by market research analysts and up to 67% of tasks done by sales representatives. Banking? Some estimates suggest 54% of banking jobs have high automation potential. Does this mean human workers are obsolete? Absolutely not. But it does mean we need to have an honest conversation about what's changing. This brings us to a fundamental problem. Our main economic scorecard, GDP, was never designed for the world we're entering. And honestly, it wasn't even that great for the world we've been living in. GDP measures economic transactions, the total value of goods and services produced. That's it. It was designed in the 1930s and 40s to measure production capacity and economic growth during wartime and the Great Depression. It does that job reasonably well. But here's what GDP doesn't measure: the health of your citizens, their happiness, environmental sustainability, income inequality, the value of unpaid work like caregiving, whether your economy is about to crash. Robert F. Kennedy said it best back in the 1960s. GDP measures everything except that which makes life worthwhile. Think about it. If a country cuts down all its forests, GDP goes up. If pollution increases healthcare costs, GDP goes up. If people are working 3 jobs but barely surviving, GDP might look great. GDP tells us we're producing more, but it can't tell us if we're living better. And here's where AI makes this even more complicated. In a world where machines can produce abundance with minimal human labor, what does GDP even mean? If AI can generate enormous value without traditional employment, are we measuring the right things? So what happens next? I don't believe we're facing economic collapse, but I do think we're entering a transition period. Let's call it what it is: a fundamental restructuring of how we create and distribute value. The data suggests that while about 92 million jobs might be displaced by automation and AI, roughly 170 million new opportunities could emerge, primarily in technology, green industries, and care services. That's a net gain of about 78 million jobs globally. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Those new jobs won't necessarily go to the same people who lost the old ones. And they won't necessarily appear in the same places or at the same time. This isn't about mass unemployment. It's about massive disruption. What we're moving toward isn't a world without work. It's a world where the definition of valuable work is changing. Physical strength used to be valuable, then repetitive precision, then basic literacy and numeracy. Now we're shifting toward work that requires creativity, emotional intelligence, complex problem solving, and uniquely human judgment. The question isn't whether humans will have value. It's whether our economic systems will recognize and reward that value appropriately. This is where it gets philosophical and personal. For most of human history, your economic value was tied directly to your labor. You worked, you got paid, you survived. It's simple. It's been the deal for centuries. But what happens when A, I can do many tasks better, faster, and cheaper than humans? Here's the hard question we need to face. In which domains is human effort truly irreplaceable? The answer isn't nowhere, but it's also not everywhere. Humans excel at work that requires genuine empathy and emotional connection, ethical judgment in ambiguous situations, creative insight that draws from lived experience, building trust and complex relationships, and making decisions where values matter more than data. Think about it. Would you rather have an AI or a human deliver your cancer diagnosis? The AI might be more accurate, but the human can hold your hand, read your emotional state, and adjust their approach in real time. We don't lose our value in an AI world, but we do need to get much clearer about where that value actually lies and build economic systems that recognize it. So how do we navigate this transition? I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I do think we need to completely rethink our economic framework. Instead of obsessing over GDP growth, we need a more sophisticated approach, one that recognizes multiple forms of capital and values balance over pure expansion. Think about it in terms of 4 key domains. Material capital. Yes, we still need physical resources, infrastructure, and goods. This doesn't disappear, but it's not the whole story. Intelligence capital. Both human expertise and machine capabilities. The goal isn't humans versus AI. It's humans working effectively with AI. Network capital. The connections, relationships, and social infrastructure that make communities resilient. This is about trust, cooperation, and shared purpose. Diversity and resilience. Systems that can adapt to change because they're not overly dependent on any single approach or resource. The economy that thrives in the next decades won't be the one that maximizes production at all costs. It'll be the one that balances these elements effectively, creating genuine well-being rather than just impressive numbers. This means rethinking everything from education to social safety nets to how we measure success as a society. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The transition ahead is going to be challenging. Change at this scale always is. But here's what I want you to take away from this video. First, the data shows that AI will displace some jobs while creating others. The net effect might even be positive. But the distribution of that impact won't be even, and we need policies that help people navigate the transition. Second, our current economic metrics, especially GDP, are inadequate for measuring what actually matters: human well-being, environmental sustainability, and long-term prosperity. And third, the future isn't predetermined. We have agency here. The question isn't whether AI will change the economy. It will. The question is whether we'll shape that change to serve human flourishing or just let it happen to us. So what can you do? Stay curious. Build skills that complement AI rather than compete with it. Focus on developing your uniquely human capabilities. Creativity, empathy, judgment, relationship building. Support policies that prioritize well-being over pure growth. Push for better metrics that measure what actually matters. And most importantly, Join this conversation. Because the economy we build over the next decade will shape the lives of generations to come. The future isn't about fighting technology. It's about ensuring technology serves humanity, not the other way around. Thanks for watching Beyond GDP. If this resonated with you, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more conversations about building an economy that actually works for human beings. Let's think beyond GDP together.